Welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. If this is your first time here, know that the views and opinions expressed by the Black Men Think podcast are those of the Black Men Think podcast and not the individual members. With that being said, we're about to be unapologetically, undeniably black. Enjoy.
All right, man, what's going on? Welcome to the Black Man Think podcast, where we elevate our black men because black men be out here thinking. And welcome to the unofficial episode 100.
The unofficial.
The unofficial episode 100. We only say that because we recorded episode 100. Y'all already got episode 100, but we didn't know that was episode 100. So, figured tonight we can have like a real talk, like this is episode 100. Like we're gonna do a redo, like what we would have did. Like so, clap it up for episode 100.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Clap it up for episode 100.
Y'all been with us 100 one of these things.
100,
Cheers,
man.
fellas.
100. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a cheers.
Incredible right
That's cool. That's a cheers. 100.
From JJ's over there. You know?
It's from Louisiana Bistro, man.
We just plugged them on the podcast. I hope they
Great
food good. Straight. You plugged them. You did it. That's your spot. You blew up their whole spot. Just did.
It's all good, man.
Next time y'all see somebody from Black Man Think podcast come through there, we need a discount. I'm just saying.
100%.
Yeah, man. But episode 100, bro, like, how does it feel?
Man, it's interesting because it feels like it's weird. It feels longer, but at the same time, it's like it takes a lot of work to get here. It takes a lot of commitment, dedication, but more importantly, it takes a consistent set of listeners. You know, shout out
Right.
to all our thinkers out there that whether you started with us on episode 1, whether you came in somewhere in the 50s, the 70s, and then went back and caught up, you've been here with us to support. And so congratulations, fellas.
Yeah, man. You know, I would really be interested to hear, like, if you've been with us since like episode 1, I would just love to hear from you. So like, just shoot us a quick DM or, you know, however y'all get in contact with us, like Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Like, I would just like to know who's been with us since episode 1. You know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe we can send y'all something. We don't have any merch yet, but maybe we can send them some. Yeah, we'll send y'all something. But you got to prove that you was with us from episode 1. I don't know how we do that.
Anybody remember the first episode?
I'm trying to remember now. I'm trying to think before the pandemic or during.
No, we definitely birthed this during the pandemic. Because like while we have 100 episodes and technically 100 episodes would be roughly 2 years, we've been doing this podcast for longer than 2 years because we fell off for a little bit. Yeah. Then we got back on.
Well, even more so, I say like we rebranded.
We definitely did rebrand.
Yeah. Like we started this podcast. I mean, and if you've been with us, you've heard, you know, the basis of the story. But I mean, this obviously started. You remember?
I do remember, but maybe that's the question. Like
Okay.
maybe that's the identifier if you was with us from episode 1.
I got you.
Like if y'all really rocking with us, here's a treat. This is what we'll do. Okay, I got it.
Go for it.
This is what we'll do. If you really a day one listener of the Black Man Think podcast, then you should be able to tell us what was the original name of the podcast.
There you go.
Because we've released those episodes.
There you go.
So if you're a day one, here's what you do. Comment, shoot us a DM, however you need to get in contact with us. Or on YouTube, comment in the comments, what was the name of the original name of the podcast? Send that. Make sure y'all put y'all real like way so we can get in contact with y'all, like y'all real @name so we can get in contact with y'all. Not no 5432785 dash.
Yeah.
You know, like put your real @name so we can get in contact with you. But we're gonna pick somebody and we'll figure out what we're gonna send y'all. But we can
Low key, we might have to bring whoever that is on an episode.
yeah. That'll be dope. That'll be dope.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But I just remember obviously how this formed as an opportunity for black men to reclaim the black voice, you know, to re-identify ourselves as something obviously any people group, but definitely not black men or monolithic. We aren't one of, one thing. Like
Right.
we are spread out in a whole bunch of different spaces and connections, and a lot was represented, even within our group of 7 guys, who've known each other since 2002. Some even before
22
that.
years.
Yeah, that's how many?
22.
Goodness.
22. Me and Corey been on each other for 26.
Yeah.
All the way our Joseph class. Dog.
Crazy, dog. Absolutely crazy.
That's a long time ago, man.
Long time for real.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. You know what? Like, speaking of that, I was talking to a guy. He had made a comment on just like my IG page. We were just talking about stuff. And he was saying, like, man, artists got to stop remixing like these new songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, I feel you. However, we just getting old because they remixing the records that we rock to in like 02 and 03 and 04.
Right.
So like it's coming back around with those records now, but it feels like we kind of getting that same feeling like our parents were just on some like, man, y'all messing up the classics.
Right,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like when they go try to remix Lil Jon and the East Side Boys and Yin Yang Twins, I'm like, bro, hold on, man. Like you can't mess with them. That's the classic. That's how we turn into our parents. That's exactly what's happening.
But that's really the ultimate compliment.
Yeah.
When you think about it. I mean, it doesn't feel like it to those who were there from the beginning.
True.
But I mean, granted, they picking those songs for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Those are classics.
Yeah, and I just saw like Glorilla and Meg Thee Stallion. They are remixing Soulja Boy record. Like, what is it? This right here is my swag. Yeah, yeah. That I heard like a snippet of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
they remixing that. So that's what I'm saying. It's coming back around, bro. Like anything that we were rocking with in college, it's coming back around now. We at that 20-year mark. It's time. It don't feel like it, but it's time. It's time. So, thinking about that time, bro, like, do you think, now that we're at episode 100, Corey, do you think that we did what we planned to do?
We probably exceeded it. I mean, I think it started more so. I think the older we got, the more serious the conversation became. Mm-hmm. Of course, wisdom come along with that. So, the conversation kind of shifted. But I mean, it's definitely it's a great experience. I mean, to be able to have ideas thrown out from different black men, different perspectives, different walks of life, and putting it out there for the people.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. What about you?
And I'd say like I think we, to Corey's point, I think we set out with an intent and a purpose, and I think it just continued to grow.
Yeah.
And we ended up touching on subjects that we never knew that we needed to, never thought we would. Like I just looked up the topic and the title of our first episode. It was really our first 2 episodes. It was a part 1 and a part 2. And it was situational blackness. And that's, by the way, that's not the first episode of our original name before we rebranded. That was the first episode of the BMT, the Black Man.
Yeah, that was the first episode of the rebrand.
Yeah, the rebrand. And it's crazy thinking about the phases of history that we went through.
Right.
Kind of launching kind of like right before the height of the pandemic, and then kind of getting hit with the social injustice period that we saw in the last few years.
Yep.
From the protests to some of the politics, some of the crazy things that we witnessed in that space, kind of having to use this platform as an opportunity to speak and speak out and speak up in those moments. And then beginning to tackle some more personal things. I know we went into a phase of mental health, which a lot of people dealt with coming out of the pandemic. We talked about pivoting. We talked about what it was like to be shut down across the world, how to rebrand yourself in that time. I mean, we even dealt with, things like estate planning and brought some folks on to just kind of talk about, some of the newest topics in the Black community. And then at the end of the day, I think the bedrock of everything that we do was just the brotherhood that we automatically have. So much came out of that alone. But Man, it's been a good run so far, man. 100 episodes. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's you don't think about it because we're doing the work.
Yeah.
Right. And so like when you're doing the work and you know, for us the time doesn't feel like it because like it's literally brothers talking. It's a little bit different, right? Like if you going to work and you doing things with like coworkers, it kind of hit different. Like we really have a friendship that we've had over 20 years at this point. So it's slick like just an excuse for us to like get together.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? But we've made these conversations happen, and it's surprising, bro. Like to look at that, you've done something 100 times. That I mean, it says a lot, bro. Like I mean, it really. And I'll give you just some raw data of podcasts. Podcasts now are like the new, you know, song, right? Like everybody's starting a podcast. The thing that most people don't realize is not a lot of podcasts make it to episode 100.
Wow.
Like they just don't, bro. For whatever reason, like a lot of people jump into podcasting thinking that they're looking at, it'll be the equivalent of looking at Drake and saying, oh man, I want to be a rapper because of Drake.
Yeah.
Not realizing that it takes a lot to get to a Drake level. It's like with podcasting, people like, man, I want to be like a Joe Rogan or a Joe Budden.
Yeah.
Not realizing how hard it is to get to that point. And so people will start podcasting and then episode 20 roll around. It was like, oh man, like this ain't what I thought it was. Like it's a real time commitment, right? Like for y'all that don't know, just to give y'all a peek behind the curtain, bro, we record after 10 every time we record.
Yeah.
So you're talking about we're recording after days of like being with family, work, all of that stuff. We come and sit down and record sometimes 2-3 episodes after 10 o'clock. We up to like 12:30 sometimes recording.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a real commitment. That's not something that comes easy. And so a lot of times people get to that point where they're just like, I mean, man, bro, I've recorded like 30 episodes. I ain't really making no money. A lot of people are paying for studio time. So it's just like, bro, I'm paying $50, $100 every time I record. I ain't seeing nothing. It's kind of ain't what I thought it was going to be. I'm just going to walk out and leave it alone. But just go and look. Like if you go and just do your searching for podcasts, you'll see a lot of podcasts that ended in 2022 with like 20, 30, 40 episodes. And they just like, they might have been great podcasts, but you just can't keep up with the consistency. So for us to do this 100 times, bro, like I'm proud of us because I know that it ain't easy to get this done. And the fact that we committed to do it, it says a lot about like what we set out to do from the beginning.
Absolutely.
And I know when you were saying earlier about the timeline, right? Like we basically started in maybe 2019, I can't remember. Like what was that first episode say, the date on it? It should be a
first
date.
episode was March 5th, 2020.
So 2020 is when we started. So we're like
That was like right before the shutdown.
right before the shutdown.
Yeah.
Literally. Like 2 weeks.
Right.
Maybe a week actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a week before.
Yeah.
Which mean we were recording we launched right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We had been recording episodes maybe like a month or two prior.
Right.
And had the earlier idea like maybe let's just say 6 months prior. We were kind of getting started. But to launch like I can almost say confidently that if you start from the beginning of our podcast, we walk you from the pandemic to out of the pandemic. So you get to see what life is like as a black man going through all of these things from the start of the pandemic to where we are now. And
It's funny. To your point, I'm just scrolling through episodes. By episode 13, the title is I Miss You, Barber. Y'all remember that? Like just kind of talking about being stuck
Cut your
at
own
home.
hair, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, most of us who are listening to this podcast went through it. A lot of us had kids, a spouse. I know in this room, I know at that time it was a virtual room that we were chatting on because it was Zoom or whatever, platform we were using to record. And ain't nobody been able to hit the barber.
none of that, bro.
Beards were full, the hairlines was crazy. It was one of them times, man.
Bro, I saw some pictures on, I think it might have been Facebook, but it was just some pictures showing, I think it was like March 20th. I believe that was like the official, like
Shut down.
Yeah.
everything shut down. But it was like March 20th, 2020. And bro, they just showed pictures of the most popular places in the world with no people. And it's just so weird to look at, like Eiffel Tower, no people. You know what I mean? Like the Coliseum, no people. You look at these places, these New York Times Square, no people. And it was just like, bro, we really were out here like in the house.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time, bro. Wiping down groceries.
Crazy.
Man.
Man, I got so tired of doing that, man.
Bro, we were wiping down like cereal boxes, bro.
Straight up. Go get the pickup at Kroger, Publix, whatever, wherever you go. Gloves on, mask on. Afraid to touch anything, breathe in the air.
Man, I want to
crazy.
talk about it, but COVID was a very serious time.
Correct.
People lost their lives. This is a real thing. Yeah. But knowing what I know now, I can't help but to wonder, like, bro, it was really easy to scare the entire world.
It didn't take much.
Like, bro, I'm saying, like, if we really, I want to talk about this in a very serious way because people died. That's the truth. But bro, we were scared to do the smallest of, bro, we were scared to go to the mailbox.
Yeah.
Like people didn't think like, man, getting mail was like,
Yeah.
bro, I don't know, man. Like,
And I remember like the anthrax scare. Like I'm old
Yeah.
enough to remember those times, but this was different.
this
man.
was
It
different, bro. I wasn't scared of anthrax.
No, let's keep it real. You were scared to see family members.
Facts.
Like
Remember
times-
Thanksgiving being kind of like, I don't know if I need to do Thanksgiving,
calling
bro.
parents and they were like, yo, not today. Like I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna come see the kids, or I don't think y'all should come up here. You know, it was like that.
Yeah.
It was for real like that, man.
Yeah.
But when people started dying, you were like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
real.
When I saw what they were doing in New York, putting the bodies in the trailer, I said, oh,
yeah.
shoot,
Yeah,
bro.
man.
Yeah, it was real. It definitely got real, bro.
It did. A lot of people, to your point, like that. A lot of people did lose their lives.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost people.
Yeah, a lot of people lost people.
You know, I know people who've lost family members to COVID.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and honestly,
I lost
yeah, man.
a family member.
Yeah.
It's it wasn't nothing to play with, man. And I think a lot of people went through it to the point where they almost saw death and they bounced back. You know, so there's some stories to be told, man. But
Do you remember when you caught it?
so what's so crazy is I remember when I caught it. I caught it honestly probably a month after the shutdown. Didn't know I had it until months later.
Yeah.
Like you know that by that time the research starts to pick up, you know, the information starts to come out. That there isn't even a vaccine yet, and then as you start listening to what folks are going through, you're like, yo,
Yeah.
I kind of had some of that going on, like right around April. You know, right around.
Yeah.
I think mine was like late April. Right
Do you,
after.
do you remember? Did you ever catch it?
No, I never caught it.
Never caught it.
Yeah.
Well, you blessed.
Yeah.
And you also like you don't have to deal with like kids. Kids
Oh,
are
yeah,
like
yeah,
extra.
yeah.
I caught it twice.
I've known people said they happened in 20, they saying 19. They remember late 19, they got sick.
They had
and
something.
the doctor, they couldn't figure out what it
What it
was.
was.
Yeah.
It definitely was some people that got very sick in 2019. Now I remember when I caught it because I didn't know I caught it. Like it was the same time what happened. I got I was cutting grass in the backyard and I got hit by like those yellow jackets, like 3 or 4 yellow jackets hit me in my foot. Y'all remember that time my foot swelled up and I went to the doctor, did all of my due diligence going to the doctor, and I'm thinking I'm having an allergic reaction. So I've got medication for an allergic reaction, all this, but I'm like, bro, this ain't just the bees, bro. Like I don't feel right, like everything. And the doctor like the same thing. It was like, I mean, you might want to just take a COVID test just to make sure. Did a little at home. Yeah. Bro, I saw them double lines, bro. I was like, what? And thankfully, honest to God, bro, I think that getting stung by those bees helped out because my mind was focused on my foot swelling going down.
Not on like I done caught something that
Yeah,
I ain't
bro.
never
Because
heard of.
it was a very terrifying moment for me because like for one, you isolated, your family nervous, you can't really get the care that you want. Like my wife ain't going, because I'm like, man, I don't want to get you sick, so you stay over there. So you basically like isolated, taking care of yourself. And
how long from like the shutdown was this? Like, you remember at what point?
I would have to go and look, bro, because I don't, like off the top of my head, I don't remember. It was definitely after the shutdown. Like this was, we knew it was COVID. Like this was like, people had started dying and all of that. So that's why I was like nervous, because I'm like, you looking out still like, all right, bro, I'm overweight. I'm like, I'm in good health, but like I fit the criteria of the people that should be worried type thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, bro, I don't know what's going down. My foot swell. I'm like, is this the cause of it? Like, I got all of these thoughts going through my head, and I'm isolated. I can't be around my family. I'm just in the room pretty much for the whole day type thing. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. And then the second time when I caught it, I was already vaccinated. So I was on some like, I barely had any symptoms the second time. I had like a cough and I didn't want to eat. And Trina was like, you might want to take a COVID test. Yeah. Took it, was positive, but like I didn't have nothing like that first time. That first time I was sick. And like I had like that. Felt like I was just like, I don't know what's going on, bro, but like I don't feel right. You know you just have those type of those thoughts. But yeah. Shout out to you, bro. Hey, you like one of the few people I know that came out like without it. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. Not that I know.
Well, you probably had it. Like, I mean,
nah,
you had it, but
I put it like this: if you had a fever,
I ain't having a fever, cuz.
I ain't
good cough or something. You had some,
That's the thing, though.
You
like,
lost taste.
Yeah. Everybody had it. It was just too widespread, but you just didn't have a serious case, which is
I never lost my taste or sense of smell. I know that was
me either. Point. Only thing I definitely lost appetite though. That was something that, bro, I did not want to eat. Like, and it was just some, you go to eat and I'm just like, oh.
Let me ask y'all this: 100 episodes, right? Mm-hmm. And this might take a little digging into memory, but like, what do you feel like was one of the most impactful conversations that we had on this podcast? And you may not remember the topic off the top of the head, or the title even, but even the moment.
I think for me was like that first pod after my dad died. That was because I can't remember the title. I mean, you can. I don't know if it would have been March 18th, 2021. So something around that time. Okay. But I just remember having that conversation, I think, like with y'all, just telling you like what was going through my head. Because that whole time of when my dad died, it was like we were in COVID, for one. So like I remember vividly dealing with like not being able to, as a family, go see my dad. It was just like one by one. Like, Mom, you go up, then when you done, sometimes life happens.
Episode 45.
Episode 45. So it's like we have just 25. Have you ever dropped the episode? Yeah, so it was like we didn't drop in 2 months. And I don't know if it was probably just on some like, yo, Jay, take your time. Needed some time. But yeah, that was the episode. For sure. That was definitely the episode. So, but yeah, man, I just remember being able to just talk through those emotions and like what was going on, and being able to have those conversations with like my homies outside of like my wife, because like me and my wife talked about some of that stuff, but it was just like, and I had talked to some of y'all individually too, but to like express it outwardly on a podcast, I think that was just like one of those episodes where it was just like, all right, I need to get this out, I need to vent, let me talk about it. So I definitely remember that one. It was one more that we had. No, I can't think of that. Definitely that one though, for sure. For sure, that one.
What about you?
I'm trying to think of one. I know the estate planning one was pretty good. That was pretty good. Because that, that's something where we brought in someone who was knowledgeable about the topic. So that was probably the one.
Yeah, shout out to Nicola Robinson. That was episode 36.
Okay.
That was taken December 17, 2020. So that came really at the time where COVID had kind of hit deep. You know, there were probably some people who maybe had some rude awakenings.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very necessary topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to that episode, man.
That was gold.
Yeah, it was golden. And thank you to her for allowing us to have that conversation and just being a vessel for that, because that's something that in our community, bro, that we just bypass.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, full transparency, I'm still having trouble with that with my parent. Like, my mom just, bro, I was like, man, you realize it's just you, right? Like, I had to have that with her. Like, it's just you. So, like, if you ain't got your stuff together, like, we'll be dealing with this stuff in court. It won't be siblings fighting over stuff. It will literally be in the court saying that, oh, y'all name ain't, oh, okay, you gotta do all these things. Like, no, let's just, like, take the time out. Trust me, it's money worth spent. Like, just do this and focus on it. But, you know, unfortunately, bro, our parents, our generation of parents and grandparents, bro, they just always was taught, like, man, y'all just take care of me. And they don't think about all of those other things, bro, that, like, legally that we can't do. Like, if my name ain't on the house, it ain't nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
That it was like, yeah, forget about what you're talking about. There's literally nothing that I can do until somebody else does something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to wait on somebody else in order for that to make that happen. So, you know, it's just those small things, man, that we got to make a priority that we kind of keep pushing off. We just got to make estate planning is definitely one of them, for sure.
Man, speaking of a priority that we kept pushing off, bro, I think of an episode that never got a part 2, and it was supposed to. This episode was called No Church in a While. You remember that?
I do.
So I distinctly remember having this conversation after, we talked a lot about, like, the impact of COVID on this episode, but like, after there's been a long shutdown, after people have changed, let's face it, because I went through changes. Like, I don't know about y'all, I don't know about our listeners, but like, that time period of wrestling with yourself in silence, like not interfacing with people, being, for some, stuck around your family, for others, like, you might be stuck with yourself. You know, you might be, whatever your reality was, everything that you knew changed and went out the door. And for me, I remember having a hard, like, wrestle with faith, during that time period. A lot of it had to do with some of the social injustice stuff, a lot of the bitterness in my heart from a lot of past experiences, but you have time to confront it. And I remember us doing this episode about No Church in a While and just kind of talking about, like, how faith has been challenged and impacted in light of all the events that we had seen, whether it be political, historical, medical, with the pandemic. Just, there were so many different heavy things happening in the world at the same time, man, and people's lives were being wrecked. And faith was being wrecked too. And I remember, like, we kind of just had a real moment where we were just able to share, like, man, hey, it's weird for me right now, and this is why, and this is, the church hasn't been there for this, and blah, 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 And I remember, man, we were talking about, like, having another conversation, like, all right, we got to do this again, and we need to bring somebody on and get some different perspectives.
Yeah.
I would love to still do that. I mean, we're years after that, but it'll be interesting to see, man, like, okay, now we've had time for the dust to settle. People have gone mostly back to normal. What does it look like for you now in terms of your faith walk,
I mean, bro, I can speak to that because I went to church for the first time in a long time on Easter Sunday.
Okay.
So my weekends look like this. Like, my wife work on the weekends, so I'm with the kids. So a lot of times we are either watching church. If we're not watching church, we're, like, looking over, we're looking at biblical stuff, but it's not like we're not going to church.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make an excuse. A lot of that is probably because of me, because it's my responsibility to take the kids to the church. Like, on weekends, I'm with the girls. You know what I'm saying? So But I would like, bro, I just haven't been feeling like going to a church. Just like, even when I've spot dated, went to church, it's just like, it ain't doing it for me, right? Now, not saying like I haven't lost faith, none of that. Like, still read my Bible from here and there, and like I'm in the Word. I'm still being light in dark places, but it's something about going to the building that just don't hit for me the same, right? And so this past Sunday was Easter Sunday. I took the girls to Macon, and so I went to my old church. Surprised my mom, all of that, even had the girls go to children's church because, they're getting to that point to where, I've heard them say stuff, especially my oldest saying like, oh, I don't want to go to church. And I'm like, why do you don't want to go to church? You're not even, like, she's bringing that up, not even for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just saying this. So I was like, all right, man, we got to do something. But it was good to go. I didn't really feel anything different, just being transparent.
Sure.
But, it's kind of like making that sacrifice for them. And I don't know, because I think back on my childhood, I remember a long stretch of time of the church van picking me up, me going to church, and my parents being at home. And I was like, maybe I need to do that, or maybe, even if I'm not ready to like go and deep dive and go back, maybe I still need to be sending them. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing that I've learned, bro, even at my age, like I can't force it. If I don't want to do it,
That's 100%.
you know what I'm saying? And it ain't no, like there's been no ill will. Like, of course, we've been to churches where the leader of those churches didn't do what they were supposed to do. I've accepted that, bro. That's going to happen no matter what church you go to. That's just life. That's man is flawed. Eventually, you're going to make a mistake. It's all about how you come back from that mistake. But for me, it's just like, bro, if I'm not feeling it, I can't force myself to feel it. But I don't want to put that on my children. Like, I want to give them the choice to feel it or not feel it. And so that's what I've been struggling with. Like, how do I present to them? Because they're still like, they know God, they know Jesus. Like, we talk about it.
Yeah.
But like, how do I get them in a place of comfort to go to church to make a decision and not me making that decision for them? But that's where I've been lately. Because even like wifey will ask me like, oh, y'all can go to church? I'm like, I wasn't planning on going. I wouldn't like, if she wouldn't have kept bringing it up, like she brought it up like 2 or 3 times. So I was like, all right, it's important to her. So let me like make this effort. But like, it didn't cross my mind for Easter Sunday, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just like,
You see where I was? I was in Cancun on Easter Sunday. So
so I'm like, it's Sunday, and I mean, I'm gonna use the expression, God know my heart, but like that's just the truth, bro. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat and lie and be like, oh yeah, like it was just another Sunday for me. I wasn't even thinking about it being Easter Sunday for real. But yeah, bro, like that's been my struggle with. I'm okay with not going. Like I'm okay with making slowly making my way back.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's the best thing for my kids.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. We need to talk about it again.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's something to dive deeper into, man. I would love to see some of these. I put it like this: a lot of these episodes that we've gone through, they deserve a part 2.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the beauty of the variety and the vastness of this podcast and what it's meant not only to us, but to a lot of our listeners who have taken the time out to communicate and be like, man, I just got to episode 85. And
Right.
man, y'all just don't know. Like, y'all just touch me in a way. It's like to hear that stuff, man. It's like you said, like all we doing, we just in the room shooting the breeze with the homies, doing what we do, what we've done since we've known each other.
Right.
And yet these moments, man, they matter. And that's insane.
Yeah. So, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, I feel like that's how it kind of started. We were like, man, we need to start recording this stuff.
Yeah, I think
like,
so. I
The
think so.
conversation we have is like,
Yeah.
we need to start recording that.
Yeah, I definitely think that was the genesis of it, bro, because our group chats, we go in. At any given time, we'll go in. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy about our group chat, bro, because like our group chat will slow down to a halt.
Yeah.
Well, we don't say nothing for like 2 or 3 days. And then we just like, it take one post or one person say something, and then it's just like, oh, there we go. We were just waiting for somebody to like break the ice again. Then we just like go in for like days on hand. So, but I definitely believe that, Corey. That's what happened. It was just like, man, we do all of this. We should just like talk about it and record it. And once again, it gave us an excuse to like have conversations in person a little bit more often than what we were. But speaking of part 2, this is a good stopping point. If y'all want to continue our unofficial episode 100, you got to go over to Patreon. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk more about like our old episodes and things that we like, what we didn't like, what we could have done better, what we want to continue to do. But if you want to go there, make sure you go to Patreon right now. You can sign up for a free trial. And I would rather for you to sign up for real, but you can do the free trial, bro. Like, it's cool. Like, check it out. If you like what you see there, continue with us. If not, no love lost. Keep listening to the free episode. It's all good, man. But remember, I can't remember what's the saying.
Niggas think.
Oh, you want to go back to OG?
Yeah,
Niggas think.
We're gonna recap all of them. We elevate our
black man because black man be out here thinking. This is Black Man Think Podcast. See y'all next week.
The Black Men Think Podcast.